Even in the woods, you still hear cars honking. So, the topic that I want to talk about today is how in the world does our inner child know more than what we know now? Our inner child, the part of us that never really leaves, is essentially the key to our own Akashic records, so to speak. What are Akashic records? Akashic records are a library, so to speak, a library full of every single detail from every single life, every incarnation that you've lived. But the thing is, there's this misunderstanding that when you're born, you have amnesia. It's to an extent. And what I mean by this is that considering our inner child is the key, it still holds remembrances and different habits, the key aspects to our previous selves. So throughout our current lives, we pick up on the things we used to do, the things we remember from previous lives. And I know reincarnation isn't a light topic for some because some are very, limited in their perspective, and they allow religion to only dictate what they can believe. So, in terms of spirituality, having strong spiritual faith, reincarnation is the universal act of energy transferring into a different form. When you hear in science, energy cannot be destroyed, it can only be transferred. Our bodies are made up of electrical impulses as well as different quantum properties that we really can't explain, but we do know that exists within our body. So reincarnation isn't so far off, if you get what I mean. So anyway, how does our inner child end up knowing more than we do? Well, like I stated, they hold remembrances, right? And this never really leaves us. I mean, when I was first digging into past life regressions and reincarnation, trying to understand more about it, why I've always felt a certain pull to something, why I've always enjoyed doing this instead of that. I've had people tell me that, you can't remember it past a certain age, right? All these limited perspectives were thrown on me when it came to it, but I knew deep inside that it never really left. And the reason why I'm talking about this is because yesterday I was just minding my business and I had realized that the symbol that I draw on my paintings and my pieces of artwork, the circle with the cross, I realized that it resembles the medicine wheel. And for those of you who do know, I am digging into shamanic practices. So in shamanism, they use the medicine wheel as a key, so to speak, to balance, to be in balance with all forces of life and all bodies of the self, right? Because shamanism is basically the path to self-revolution. It's not about what others know symbolize certain things. It's about what you understand things to symbolize for yourself in order to transfer that or transmute it or translate it to the world. So the medicine wheel, which I'll make a video about later, basically it governs the spiritual body, the emotional body, the physical body, and the mental body of the person. And we in turn use this, what we call medicine, to disperse it back out into the world, into the conscious collective, in order to help others, right? In order to help others have their own self-revelations. So, or self-realizations. So I noticed it correlated with the medicine wheel, and that threw me into a spin because I wasn't really thinking that, but I realized, well, that explains why I've always wondered if there was a deeper meaning to certain animals and what they mean, but I never really took that path, you know? And I mean, there's other things too that I've done that I've correlated to other lives. Like, I mean, not every girl was dressing up as Pocahontas, but for some reason, one year when I was like 4 years old, I really wanted to be Pocahontas, and I was telling my grandma that I was that. She didn't believe me, and of course, in turn, I believed her, which not in turn doubting myself and not believing myself and what I was saying. When it came to my past life in New York City as Madeline Astor, well, so to speak, Pocahontas' name wasn't Pocahontas; it was Matoaka, right? But we all know her as Pocahontas. But I knew it as a different name, but I knew who they were talking about whenever the movie came out and everything, you know? So anyway, as Madeline Astor, I remember having an affinity for jewelry that would specifically line the neck. I would watch movies from like the old 1910s, 1920s. I would literally get this like karaoke slash TV thing I would have, and I would go into the restroom late at night in the summers, and I would literally just switch it to those really old time movies, and I would just sit there and watch it. And whenever I would watch it, it was as if I was remembering. I love the transatlantic accents. I love emerald rings, which were a really big thing back in that day. And come to find out, Madeline Astor had a really big emerald engagement ring from John Jacob Astor. There's more to it. I mean, I've always wanted to go to New York City, and I always saw that as my home, didn't know why. And then there comes Egypt for Halloween one year. I picked a Cleopatra costume, but in my head, I knew I was something else. And I remember the night of when I was dressing up as Cleopatra, I remember hearing faintly Titi, like that. But I didn't know where it came from. It was as if someone else was in the restroom with me and they were trying to say something to me. So I correlated the Titi with Nefertiti because in this current time right now, lately I've been having numerological codes that correlate with 119, Queen Nefertiti, King Akhenaten, all that jazz. So my life seems to do a circle just like with the medicine wheel. And it seems to do a circle with what I'm starting to remember. So of course there's a resistance built up, and that's what source, that's what God, that's what the universe wants. So that you have those questions, that you ponder and you stay curious, because the more you stay curious, the more you will find the answers that you need, that you've been longing for. So all this stuff, technically, it's scary, but it's clarifying, it's relieving. It's a big relief, really. I guess that's why they don't make the Akashic Records fully available to us for that reason, because if we knew every single detail of every life, literally it would drive us insane. So that's why our inner child ends up knowing more than what we know now, because we're rediscovering our inner child. We're doing the inner child work by staying curious and understanding or trying to dig into why certain things call to us. So our inner child is that keepsake, that little key that cracks the door open to the Akashic Records, to that soul library of the self and of the collective consciousness. So we got to thank our inner child for knowing more, and we got to thank ourselves currently for still staying open to the inner child healing. Lovely, follow my leg. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. And go ahead and bask in nature and just enjoy it. I'll talk to you later, Seekers. Bye.